Hello, hope you're doing okay today. Let me know if you can hear me okay in the comments, and excited to build this site out with you. I like doing these live sites because it's nothing we're creating from scratch. We're just taking something that's pre-existing and trying to recreate it, and why not use Astro to do that. So I hope you're doing well. This is early morning for me. I don't know where it is for you, but I'd love to hear where you're watching from as well. And we're going to jump right in here in just a second. And we do have a decision to make, because I think there are some things we could tweak with the design slightly. I do like that it's so minimal, but I think we probably could change around some stuff as well. So we can make this a design and code stream, or we can just code what's there and be done. So if you have a strong preference there, let me know. But that's kind of one of the decisions we're going to need to make here. All right, let me go ahead and transition over formally. Hi, good to see you today. We've got this website up over here, and this is from a vacation I took, I guess last week. And I've done this once before. I went to Boise, and I went to a coffee place that I liked, so I did their site. And then we went to California, like Sacramento area, and went to this coffee shop and really liked it. So if you're ever in Woodland, California, you should definitely go to Gallery Coffee Roasters. And if you live anywhere within like 10 hours of Salt Lake, just let me know. And if you own a coffee shop and want me to come visit your coffee shop so I can redo it on a live stream, you just let me know and I'll be there. If you want to throw in a free cup of coffee, I'm not going to be upset about that. But nobody knows I'm doing this from there. But I do actually have, there we go, an actual shirt I bought from them as well. So I don't know, I guess you can yeah, this is my contribution to their shop, so I really like it. But all right, I think that's about all the intro I need to do. I haven't heard from anyone that you can't hear me, which means hopefully you can, or this has been a very awkward first few minutes. And I haven't heard from anybody if you really want me to design this as well. You can see it's fairly basic and fairly like kind of blocky. I think it's Squarespace if I remember right, yeah. So we can just keep it just like this. We can change it up slightly. So it's kind of up to us. But for now, what I'm going to do is come over here and let's go ahead and just create something. So I'm going to use PNPM, I think. Create Astro at latest. We're going to call this Gallery Coffee Astro Rebuild. How about that? All right, we'll get this thing up and running. You can hear us. Hear me. Awesome. Hey, good morning, Marco. Thank you. Thanks, Philip. Let me switch this so I can see this a little more easily. And that way I don't have to stretch my head as much all the way over there. All right, and move this over. All the live streaming stuff. Okay, including files. No, get out of here. Like I do with all my streams, it's just me sitting down and starting to talk and code. So sometimes it goes great, sometimes it doesn't. So if you're here for that, then let's do it. If you're not, no worries. But it's the real deal. Any strong preferences on whether or not we should redesign this some or just go with it as is? So we could go with it as is. Looks like this. and just code that up. That's fine. I'm happy to do that. Or we can redesign it. I actually pulled all the images just from the network requests and dumped them into a Figma file along with the existing homepage in case we wanted to do that. So let me know. Or we can just kind of redesign it as we go, like kind of tweak little things here and there if you'd like to as well. Hey, Greg, welcome. Background music name. I have no idea. I'm just using a service. So sorry. I think if you use Twitch with them, they will actually insert the name of the tracks. There's no way to do that with YouTube so far as I know. Bento style. Bet no style. TypeScript, sure. Strict, sure. Hey, what's up? Git repository, sure. Okay. So let's cd into Gallery Coffee. And I'm going to go ahead and get this up and running. And since I'm not exactly sure how it'll pull everything up, I'm just going to real briefly here switch over and get this open and be right back with you. All right. Let's have some fun, a little redesign. Okay. I'm not going to argue with that. So if we were to do that, let me go ahead and get pulled up over this way. What do you think about Style X? Is that the Facebook thing? So, hey, thanks for the wishes on the stream. Best timeline I can get because I just heard about Astro and learned something about it. Cool. Hey, nice. Hey, awesome. Well, I hope I can be a help to you. I do enjoy Astro myself. All right, let me switch back over so you can actually see my face, since that is why we're all here, I'm sure. And let me go ahead and get, let's just init commit this. All right, there we go. All right, so we got this as a starting point. Hey, from Spain. Hola. I am learning Spanish on the side, but I'm not about to attempt that. Hey, awesome. I know, man, I'm working on this Astro course like crazy. I'm trying to get this done. My goal is to get these first 4 or 5 modules up and running, and that's early access. So it'll probably be like 5 to 8 hours worth of content. I'd like to get more like 35 hours of content by the time I actually formally launch this thing, which will probably be more like March. But I want to kind of start and then build with people in public and see what's helpful and some areas that might have some weaknesses to them as well. My goal is to really stick with Astro content. The hard thing with a lot of these kinds of courses, because usually you're building with other services, is it's really easy to just want to include a bunch of other services. Like, well, we need a database, so we're going to use this. We need that, so we're going to use this. And the problem is then you end up teaching all these other things and you don't teach like the core thing. And so there's need for both of those. But I really want to focus on Astro and the Astro concepts and build stuff out with that. So that's my goal. And so that's... it'll very much be like, okay, this is a whole module about content collections, and it's like 4 hours about just content collections, practicing with content collections, and maybe occasionally pulling in like something from JSON server or something local that's not a massive database lift or something. So that's kind of the idea, and I'm hoping it'll be a help to those who really want to learn Astro. Okay, I think I saw that we want to do a redesign, or at least something like that. So I'm not sure. I'm not going to be like crazy here. I don't want to spend forever on a redesign, and I'm not like an awesome designer. I just do what a lot of devs do, where you have to design stuff occasionally. So sometimes I design stuff, sometimes it's great, sometimes it's horrible. So, we'll just do what we can. I actually don't know what typeface they're using, so I'm guessing this is like, I don't know. I'm not even gonna guess. I'm not getting any. Why am I not getting any pop-ups here? There we go. Golden Jack Espresso Blend. Oh, wait, that's just the name. SandSource Pro. Okay. Not quite firing on all cylinders this morning, evidently. Okay, SandSource Pro. We can do that. I got that on my machine. All right, so let's go ahead and put this down here. Awesome, Ruben. All right, I think there's not a ton on this nav, so and it feels a little unbalanced because it's so dark and heavy. So if it were me, I think, unless it was a lighter logo, or I could redo the logo mark where it was just the what's actually on the sign here with just these pines, Then I think if it was just the pines, I'd throw it on the left. But because it's so dark and heavy, it like weights the whole page and tilts it in my mind mentally. So, yeah, I'll try to elaborate on what I do today. But always feel free to ask questions too, perspective. I'm happy to explain anything. So I think for me, I would probably tend to put this in the middle. I don't know. And then as far as this other stuff, sign in, contact, about, wholesale. Again, I don't know. I think I'd probably maybe stick these. What I'd probably do is maybe move order ahead. What's the difference between that and shop? I don't know. I guess I shouldn't like redo their nav too. Probably don't want that. Okay, let's come in here and we'll do order and shop order ahead. Okay. Whoa. Okay. Shop order ahead. Like I said, if you're ever in Woodland, California, definitely go to their place. I really enjoyed it. Super good coffee. People were really nice. Had a really nice conversation with the guy working behind the desks. Wholesale about. So yeah, it was just enjoyable. Wholesale. And let's just go ahead and grab all these, throw them in an auto layout. And I still can't remember what's over here. Shop, order ahead, wholesale about, contact, sign in. All right. Something like that. And then what I will probably do for all these, I should have done this ahead of time, but let's grab all these right here. Jump into code. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. We decided to design stuff, so the light border is kind of doing nothing. Yeah, it's so low contrast. If first impressions, if you want to come back, my guess is like 20 minutes. I'm going to be done like doing a basic redesign here, but yeah. That was one of my questions today, is if we should do this, and we had an opinion, so that's what we're doing. SandSource Pro. There we go. So that's what we're going to do, is really quickly redesign this, and then we'll jump into code. Probably should bump this up just a touch too. Let's do like 16, just to kind of figure out what this should look like. Oops. And I'm going to copy this over. And I think I'll just split this in half. And put half of it on one side, half on the other, like this. And then we'll just drop all this in an auto layout. And put this in the middle. And spread this all the way here and there. Something like that. I think that's how I'd at least start. And that way it doesn't tilt the page to start with, which is kind of what I feel like it is doing currently. All right, then let's pull this in. Honestly, like, you've got this nice blue sky. There's part of me that wants to just throw this to the back, but I think that's still not quite good enough for accessibility. So, but maybe we go full bleed and go the whole way, something like that. And then I think you can have little like overlays that might work well. Again, I'm not going to like super lay this out perfectly, but simple, sustainable quality. Like if that's kind of their thing, then maybe what we do is just capitalize on that. And yeah, let's do that. So I think what I would do is maybe have some kind of like off-page kind of thing. And I'll probably play with these colors when we actually get to the design, but they kind of have this boxy shape for everything, but their logo mark definitely has more of these rounded edges, although I guess they've got more of a boxy, like, typographical thing going on. So part of me wants to throw like a little, yeah, just a little radius on this, something like that, just to soften it a touch, but I don't know. All right, let's come in here. SandSource Pro, let's go like 24. Bold. Big circular logo makes makes me sick. Yeah, well, I'm not going to redesign their logo, and I don't want it to be like a trash their site stream either. So it's usually what happens is it's, you know, they're doing their best, and they're using Squarespace, which means they can update it themselves, which honestly is what I tell a lot of people to do. Like if they will ask me to redo their site and I can't do it, I'm just like, just pick something you can use, and Squarespace honestly is really nice for doing that. So I can't fight with that. All right. Let me, oops. Come on. My OCR thing is not working for me. There we go. Okay. So now I should be able to come in here. Hey, Alien. Doing well. How are you? Good to see you. Let's see if this FaceBot is working, but for some reason I'm not getting anything to copy over. There we go. Okay. OCR this too. Grab that. Right now we're kind of like quickly redesigning this site. So just real briefly, and then we'll get to actually coding. And let me pull this down. So I don't know, something like this, and then maybe we pop these like this. And honestly, no, I don't like that. Let's keep this like this. Let's pop this down to like the 16 or whatever. That's fine there. And then maybe we just do like gallery, coffee, roasters. Do bold. Come on. Something like that. I think that looks a little bit better already. Yeah, I like that. Okay. That's something. And then on mobile, we'll probably slide it down, but I think that's pretty good. For this section, like, honestly, this is fine. I'd just square these things up a touch. And then here, honestly, let's kind of keep that the same. So I'm happy with that. It was mostly like the top section. And I'll probably like left align this stuff just because that's kind of my preference. But I guess let's just really quickly, just so I can remember what I was going to do. Can we have some kind of like recent or like, I don't know, featured products like buy our coffee? I don't know, something. I need some kind of copy here. And probably, I guess I get rid of that. Let's see. Yeah, we will do Astro. Yeah, we'll be, I'll be starting here in like, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes on the actual Astro code. I was just gonna really quickly redesign this. I'm not sure I'm gonna teach you anything, but I'm here for you, Alien. All right, let's grab these things. So these I'll probably square up like I mentioned, but let me pull this in here. However this ends up looking. Wasn't there another one? Ah, hiding in the darkness. Oh, let's pull this in here. So something like that. I mean, obviously, you know, we'd figure that out in some way, but I don't know. I think too, if you're going to buy these, they should have some kind of buy button. So maybe we would do that too. That would give us a chance to build an extra component. So maybe let's do that like buy now or something. And then throw this thing in auto layout. For now, let's just fill it with whatever. It doesn't really matter. And I'll change this out and we'll actually design something decent in the code. So I think if you're going to buy it, it should have that. And then it also obviously has its name and all that kind of stuff. So I take you to its product page. And I'd probably have some kind of banding effect. If you're going to keep with this kind of like squarish look everywhere, then at least have some kind of true banding. I think that's what I would do. So, all right, we'll loosely go with that. I've got all these images that I just pulled from their site too. So I think I'm fairly happy with that. Okay, so over here we have the very basic Astro site. Tried Framer Motion or Gas with Astro. I have not, but I haven't used much. Buy our coffee. Yeah, they don't hire me for the copy. You know what I'm saying? All right, so if you haven't worked with Astro before, this is just a basic project we set up. It's totally blank. Let me go ahead and get it up and running. So pnpm run dev, because I use pnpm. And this is localhost 4321. The routing is done per, like, in the pages directory per file. And you can have HTML files or index or Astro files, and it will just automatically create routes for you, which is really, really nice. So you can see that's what I got over here. And it just looks like HTML. And that's the beauty of Astro, is like you can start so simply but it can expand to kind of anything you want. And so that's why I really like working with Astro. And like for me, it's definitely my default for anything because it doesn't overcomplicate stuff. It's basically just HTML with some JSX style syntax that's not annoying like some of the stuff you have to do in React, like adding keys and whatever, because it's not reactive in that way. And then if you need more reactivity, you can always add client-side JavaScript at any point, or you can like add a UI framework like React or Vue or Svelte or whatever. Framer Motion and Gas with Astro, both work great. Awesome. Yeah, I just haven't used them at all. So it's not that I haven't used them with Astro, I just haven't used them at all. One of these days, when I find time in my life, I will learn all the extra stuff I want to do, and that's one of them. But so you can see here, I've got this index page right here. If I were to copy this, and my computer lets me paste it, which right now seems to be like a real struggle as we watch. Okay, there we go. This could be like about, and in here, this could be about. And you can see that I can then manually navigate here to an about page, and it's just a new route. And of course, you can always come in here and have like a link that points home like this, and just jump back and forth. So any links that point to routes automatically obviously are picked up, and the routing kind of is all handled for you. So this is how you do routes in Astro. Now, obviously you don't want to have to redo all this HTML every time. So typically the first thing I'll do is come inside here and have a layouts folder, and I'd have something like a base layout.astro. And you don't have to structure it like this, it just makes sense for me. And then what I'm going to do is come in here and grab all of this and drop this here. You may notice that you've got this front matter section up top here. Crash course in Astro. I do. I have a 20-minute crash course. I did it last year, but it still, I think, holds up mostly. And then I've got a 3.5 hour blog course that still mostly stands up as well. And then I've got a course coming out here in the next, hopefully, week and a half or so. That's like the early access to it. And so you can sign up for that at learnastro.dev, and you'll get 50% off the final price, or at least that. It might be actually more than that by the time I figure out what to price this thing. But so yeah, any of those hopefully would be a help to you. And yeah. All right, so over here you can see we've got this kind of structure here where we've got this front matter section. If you've worked with Markdown before, this looks like Markdown front matter because that's kind of what it's patterned after. Basically, up here is where you'll write anything that's going to be used on build. So for instance, I could have just a constant like, I don't know, like my num, and set this equal to 1. And then down below here is what will actually be rendered to the client. And one of the powers of Astro is that you don't have any client-side JavaScript unless you opt in. So I've got JavaScript up here, well, a constant, and all this is essentially like wrapped in an async function. And down this way, I can just simply reference my num. And you'll notice I've got this bracketed syntax. But now if I hit save, come over here, let's see, am I in, oh, I'm on the base layout. I haven't even used this yet. Let me get this up and running so I can show you how this works. But basically this would just be on the page, and just to show you, maybe let's jump over here. So now it says my num. Now, like I mentioned, you don't want to redo all this boilerplate every time. So instead what you can do is just like a tag, like an H1 tag, you can reference other Astro components. And so we're going to reference this base layout. So I'm going to get rid of all this on my index page now. We'll come over here and just reference base layout. And if you don't have the extension by Astro, you need it because it will actually suggest these, assuming that this works. For some reason, mine has stopped working, probably because I have too many extensions installed that I've been playing with. So what you can do instead is reload the window, and it will work then at that point. So again, I think it's just my fault, but I guess I have the perfect person here to ask. Alien, if you know what's going on, let me know. Hi, Christina, welcome. All right, so you can see here I can reference this base layout like any other tag in HTML. And now whatever I put in the middle of this could be referenced inside of this. But even without that, if I just save it, it'll actually redo it just like this. And now this index page, if I refresh, will reference whatever is in this base layout page. So if I came over here and did like 222 after that, now it'll show that as well. So that allows you to kind of remove the boilerplate and have it in one location and then just insert your content where you need to. Now, obviously, we don't want this to be self-closing. We want to insert content inside of here. So the way we do that is come back over this way. In the base layout component, I can use something called a slot. All I have to do is enter a slot like this. And now any content I add inside of those two tags of the base layout right here, see right here, will show up there. So if I say index, now it will say index. So this slot is going in directly here. Obviously, this is really helpful if you have things like a nav, and you have a nav right here, and maybe you have a footer, and you have a footer here. And now the nav and footer here are coming from the base layout, and this is coming from the index page. Now, the cool thing is I can do the same thing over here. So if I come to this about page, and let's see, let's close the sidebar, and I say about over this way. Now here's the index, and obviously if I come to about, now it'll say about because that's what I have inserted here. So this allows you to have little sections, and you can even name these sections, these slots if you want to as well. Let's see. Let me just make sure I haven't missed something. So the layout tag will be the same as the file name. Yes. Yep. So it's basically like, if you think about it as JavaScript, these are like default exports. So you're exporting that entire Astro component, and then you can import it just by using that tag name. So really simple and easy and clean to work with, even if you're not like a super advanced developer or something. So another reason I really like it. Now by default, you get this 404 page. All you have to do to replace this 404 page, for instance, if you're building a small site for somebody, you don't have a ton of time, you just have to really quickly throw together a 404 page. Not too bad. You just come in here and you can have a base layout, assuming it works. There we go. And you could just say like 404 not found. And maybe what we could do is throw this in an H1. I'm not sure why that's capital. Sorry about that. Which that is one of the things I typically do, is I make them capital components, or routes and components, just to make sure I can distinguish them very quickly from HTML and other things. So then I can come in here and just have this go back to home, go home. And now, just by doing this 404 route, if I come over here, it'll say 404 not found, go home. And just like that, I can go home and we're set and ready to go. Now, we haven't talked about CSS yet, which I wasn't really planning on fully explaining this, but since we have a couple people in the chat who aren't familiar with Astro, I'm just talking through it like I would. Okay, so Alien corrected me. This is good. You import from the file name, but since it's a default export, you can totally do, oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's a default export. So, yeah. So since it's a default export, you can name it anything you want. That's true. So I could name this like, I don't know, like John. All right, and then we could just have a John tag, and that would work as well, since it's default. Yeah. Obviously, like a named export would be like this, a named import would be like that. So I got the explanation of what was going on right. I just forgot JavaScript for a second. It happens. So, all right, so here we go. Let's actually get some stuff up and running. Now, we're going to need to install or do some kind of like global CSS file as a starting point. Key static, TNCMS, soon for Astro. Yep. I've got plans to do key static. I just need to find like, I don't know, 20 hours in my life at some point to learn it, put together something useful. But yeah, definitely interested in doing something on key static. So how do we get some CSS in here? We can use scope CSS per component or per file if we want to in Astro, which is really nice by default. So if I come in here, any style tag on here will be scoped to this particular component. And since it happens to wrap everything, that means all those will inherit it too. So not super helpful in that case, but you can also have like a global import of CSS that will be available anywhere. And so let's start with that. Let's have a styles folder, and I don't have to name it that, but we'll just call it main CSS. And why don't I, let's see, maybe let's just come, yeah, let's do open props. I was trying to figure out if I should do standard CSS or Tailwind or something, but let's just do this. I'm going to grab, let's see, let's grab this right here. So you can grab these imports, and it will actually, this is basically like a little library that gives you a bunch of CSS variables that you can just plug and play with whenever you'd like to. Why Astro? Where can we use it specifically? You can use it for anything you want to build on the web. It's kind of ideal for content sites, but it can do a lot more than that. So yeah. Default 404 message. Yep, that's right. Perspective. Okay, anything else? I think that's it. Okay. So this basically gives you a bunch of CSS variables, and I like to kind of create my own little design systems. And so instead of having to like come up with a bunch of colors or a bunch of spaces or that kind of thing, I do that here. Now, some of you like to use things like Tailwind where you kind of do that per file. That's fine too. You can do whatever you want. I use Tailwind a lot too when I get a chance to, but I think in this case, I'm just going to use standard CSS. So I'm installing two things, the open props package itself, and then there's a normalize, which is more than like a standard normalize. It has some pretty opinionated defaults, including changing the typography and some stuff like that. The nice thing is you can very easily overwrite these because I think they're mostly implemented with the where selector, if I remember correctly. But so with this main CSS file, how do we get it to be used in our site? If I come back over here, because all our routes are going to be wrapped in this base layout, let's use the base layout and import the CSS here. Now, remember this top section is where you can do any like kind of on build stuff. So I can simply come in here and just import, and this is a relative path to my styles, and then I can go to main CSS. And now when it refreshes, you can see it's now taken on all that styling. So if I were to come in here and say something like body background color of like red, now any site page will have that. That hurts my face. And so let's get rid of that. If you use Tailwind, great. Actually, Astro is awesome with Tailwind. Let me show you real fast what I mean. All you have to do is come down here and say PMPX or MPX if you're using that, Astro add Tailwind. That's it. And it installs it for you. And you don't have to like have a style sheet with like the @Tailwind directives and all that stuff. Creates the post CSS file for you, which I don't think it actually needs because it's using Vite behind the scene that already has that tied into it. Creates your Tailwind config file for you. That's it. That's all you have to do. And then you just start writing Tailwind. So one of the reasons I really like using Tailwind with Astro. So that's even better. Yes, you can connect Astro with React. In fact, we can do that, if you remind me, perspective here as well. So you can use other UI frameworks, multiples of them if you want to build out your content. And then if you want to, you can hydrate them with JavaScript. And there's a bunch of smart ways that you can do that with Astro. Or you can just use them to like statically render it. And on build, it'll just be static. No one will know what you used. It'll just look like HTML. But yeah. Okay, so let's actually build out one of these components. Let's see, where was our redesign over here? So maybe let's just do this nav. Somehow I like copied the same things over. We're doing really great this morning. That's good. Shop, order ahead, wholesale. Now I got to remember this stuff again. All right, so let's go ahead and come over here and let's have this nav component. So we'll build this out as our kind of first component we get started with. Honestly, I'd probably have these as buttons inside the nav component, but I don't want to overcomplicate this. Let's come over here. We'll have a components directory. Components. And should I do this as... Let's just do an Astro one first. And then we'll have a nav.astro. And again, you could use JSX or React or something, which we'll try to do here in a second. But now all I have to do is have this nav right here. And inside this nav, I'd have several items. I think the way I'm going to structure this is I'll make that logo mark like a home route. So yeah, I think we can do it like that. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to have front matter section. And rather than like manually typing all this out, we can just loop over that data. So we'll have like nav data or something like that. And inside here, let's have all the different nav items. So let me actually pull this up over this way. Excuse me. All right, another question. I know you can use whatever you want right now, but if you could give one tech stack in Astro, what would you say? Oh, no, your English is great. Client load enters the chat. Yes. Let's see. One tech stack. I mean, honestly, I stick with Astro by default because I think it's so much more pleasing to work with than like JSX. And then if I were to add like a UI framework, just use whatever you like, whatever you're best at. So yeah, if you like Solid, use Solid. Solid's great. Yeah, so just use the one you're comfortable with, and Astro makes it easy. It's just really that simple. So if you're not comfortable with the framework, just stick with Astro. I typically do Astro by default, and then if there's some advantage to using another UI framework, I use that. But since you're basically already writing JSX style syntax in here, as long as you like that, just use Astro components. If you hate it, you could use Svelte and go from there or something like that, or you can use Lit. Lots of different options. Okay, so let's call this like name shop link or href. This is gonna be a little bit of typing. Sorry, will be shop. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do with. Yeah, let's just leave it like that. Okay. I think that'll be fine. Yeah. So I'm gonna just copy these down several times. And we'll have order ahead. And let me make it like this. And I think I'm just going to leave these all lowercase and uppercase them in CSS. Wholesale. Let me know if you have any other questions, though. I'm happy to answer them. Contact and sign in. Okay. And then in the middle here is where I'll have that logo mark. So let's just have like and that'll give me a chance to show you some JavaScript stuff as well down below. So we'll have home, and this will just go to the home route. All right, so now what I can do is, since I have this nav data, and I can actually import this as well, that's probably what I would do, something this kind of this big. So maybe let's do that just to show you that as well. And you can do this in a bunch of different ways. You could use like content collections. It's probably a little bit too much for this for me. But here I could just call this like nav data. And we could do JSON. I guess we can do TypeScript as well. And yeah, that's fine. Maybe we'll use this. We'll call this like site data. How about that? Site data. And we might throw some footer stuff in there as well. So I can grab this nav data and import it directly in here. So the cool thing here is I can just say, this is a named export, right? Yeah. And I can go to my data and site data. Now I got type safety with all this as well. So notice if I hover over this, you can see I'm actually getting like what types all these things are. So super cool. And now what I can do is just loop over these. And anytime you're in this, bottom section here, again, anytime you're in this bottom section here, if you want to do any kind of like templating, you need to have these bracketed syntax. So I can do like normal JavaScript in here too. So I could be like, I could do whatever, like a new date, and render that if I want to. Out this way. Let's see. Oh, I haven't actually pulled this in anywhere. So maybe let's pull it in so we can see it work as we build. So right now I've got just a standard HTML nav tag. I want to replace this in my base layout with a custom nav component. So I did uppercase for a reason, nav. Let's see if it'll work. Might have to reload again because again I'm having some kind of issue with some conflict of extensions that I haven't had time to figure out. Now I can import it like that, and I can just make it a self-closing tag because I'm going to have it self-contained over here. And you can see that then this gets rendered. Now, obviously, I don't need a new date. What I want to do is take my nav data and I want to loop over that. So I can just map over that, and for each like item, I guess is what I'll call it, then I'm just going to output a certain bit of HTML. And again, it's like JSX, but you don't have to have like keys and like single components returned and that kind of stuff. So let's go inside here if I can. Come on. And for each of these, let's just have an li. And for now, we'll just have the I dot. And notice I get reference to the properties immediately because I'm just importing it and it knows what it is. It'll even do this with JSON as well. So name like this, and you can see it just lists them off all here. Now, I probably also should wrap this in an actual UL like that. And we can do other things, right? Because this is not just going to be an li. We're going to have inside of here an actual link tag as well. And here we'll have i.href, right? So now all of these are routes. So I can go to about, sign in, contact, wholesale. None of them exist, but that's fine. Let's go home. So immediately we get access to all that. Really cool and easy to work with. Do you know Quick by any chance? Yeah. I would love to learn Quick. Another one on my list. It seems super interesting. I like the whole idea of like no hydration step and all that kind of stuff. But honestly, like the complexities of how it works are a little bit over my head. I know it's supposed to be super simple to work with, and you basically just write React style code as far as you're using JSX and stuff. So there is a recent adaptation of Quick, or like you can use Quick now in Astro. And again, it's just like any of these npx Astro add Quick, React, whatever, and it just installs it for you. You can write all LIs and anchor tags for the nav. So no, that's fine. You can do that. But if you can loop over data and save yourself whatever time that would have cost us, great. And then that way you've got one source of truth, and that's right over here. So this is your source of truth. And then this file ends up being short and small. Auto import issue in VS Code also not working. Oh no. Reloading the window never solves it for me. Huh. Okay, well, Ellen, if you have any ideas, please let us know. All right, so what we can do in here is, now we're just returning immediately right here, but I want to actually check to see if this home button right here, if this is like if it is home, then I want to show the image. I don't want to show the text. So we can actually change that up a little bit if we want to as well, which means instead of automatically returning right here, I want to instead do some work and then return. So then I will return here. But for now, I also want to first check to see like, I don't know. I guess I don't have to do it here. Yeah, I don't have to do that here. We can just do the check directly in here. So let's do that. Come on. So inside here, what I can do is have another little thing and say, like, if I.name equals, yeah, dot name equals home, then I'm going to do something else. So we can do a little ternary here where I say if that equals home, do that. Otherwise, we're going to show this, right? And then let's drop this down just to make this clear. So up here, instead of just having this, I actually want to have an image in here as well, right? And that image will be the thing that they click on and all that kind of stuff. So for now, I'm just going to save it like that. So it'll look kind of the same, and it does some formatting for you automatically. So let's go ahead and get the image in here as well, which means I need to pull in all my images. So let me see if I can open this up. I'll pull this over here and drop all these images in. And what I'm going to do is open up the sidebar over here and create another folder. This is going to be called Assets. And basically, Astro can do some magic on your images now, which is really nice. So let's come over here, drop this in here. All these will be in here as well. And it's this logo mark PNG that I want to get access to. So what we're going to do is import it in the top so that we can use it in the build. Hey, awesome. I appreciate it. Tailwind extension for VS Code, not getting Tailwind IntelliSense in the front matter. I don't think you can. I think you can just get it in the below section, but I could be wrong. So somebody can correct me if you know differently. All right, so what we're going to do is import that image. We can call it whatever we want, but let's call it like logo mark, I guess, from. And then all we're going to do is go to our assets and look for a logo mark. And you can see we get this now imported in here. Now, if I were to console log this, remember this top section is for build, or you could think about it like server side stuff. Down here is what was going to be rendered on the client. So if I'm console logging this, it's not going to be over here, right? It's going to be down here, down below. You'll notice that what it's done automatically is it's added like an original height and width to this. So it's examined the image, knows what that is, and it's put it out here, including the format. Now you can do a lot of cool stuff with this, but for instance, you can just like reformat this kind of on the fly to whatever you want it to be. So there are a couple different things you can use for that, but in this case, what you would use is the image component probably. So I'm going to come inside here just for the home. We'll have the image component like this, and this actually comes from Astro. Let's see if I can get it. What is going on here? Okay. I'm not sure what that was. Let's pull this over here. Okay, so let me try to pull in the image. Let's reload. I might need to actually, come on. Waiting on VS Code. Just sitting here. Anybody have anything to say? Should I do this method instead of every time for the nav? Is this method better? You don't have to. Yeah, it's whatever you want. If you can, if it's 4 items and you wanted to type it out, type it out. No one's going to correct you. What am I doing wrong here? That this is not showing up properly. Maybe I just need to restart the server. PMPM run dev, because it does need to do some types and like check and I don't know, do other fancy stuff I don't understand. Hey, awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for your kind words. Imran. I'm sure I just butchered your name. I'm sorry if that's the case. Auto console log thing is cool. How do you do that? It's called turbo console log. I just, hold down Control Option and L, and it does that for me because I don't want to have to type extra stuff over and over again. Let's try again, and let's reload one more time. Sorry, I'm having so many issues with VS Code this morning. It's like really slow too. Okay. Well, it's still not importing. So what I'm going to do is just manually import this like a cave person. So let's call this data. Yeah, we'll call this like images. I don't know. Anyhow, import. And this is the image tag. Isn't that what it's called? I'm pretty sure from Astro. Assets. Okay. This should be used down here. Okay, so now what it's going to do is require a couple things. So it basically helps you ensure that you're using accessible defaults. So I can say i.name. This will be my alt, which will be the home. Or I guess what we could do is kind of combine this. So I'll do i.name in here and say like go home, which is what this should do. Although honestly, I will probably hide this image. So never mind. Let's just have an empty alt. The other things that we need for this, SRC. Oh yeah, we need SRC. So here we can point this to my nav data, like that. Not my nav data, my logo mark. All right, there we go. So So it's going to pull this image in here. Now, obviously, I don't want it this big. So there's a couple other things I can do. I can set a width on here. So let's set it something like 48 pixels. That's going to be way too small. I don't know, 72. Yeah, 80. All right, something like that. And it'll actually resize that on the fly. I can also change the format, which is really nice. So like if I want AVIF, now it's going to be significantly smaller. So let's come in here and look at this right here. So you see it's 80 by 80. If I were to inspect this, you can see it's 2 kilobytes right now. Let's switch this back to the PNG it was. And it's now 3.3, you know, so it almost cut it in half. And obviously that's very small. If I didn't have this width thing on it though, so let's go ahead and get rid of both of those. And you can see at the default, if I re-pull this in, is going to be massive. Let's see how big this thing is. Come on. What is going on? There we go. I don't want the optimized thing. 91 kilobytes versus, what are we in with at? Like 2? Yeah. So you can see how just like very quickly doing this, and it actually changes the image. So inside here, it's actually reset the image. See if I can come in here. So you can see it's actually created a new image, and it'll actually output that on build when you're done. So, all right, SRC alt with height. Show up in the dev toolbar if you don't see it. Yeah, VS Code. Okay. Courtesy of Astrodocs. Yep. Astrodocs are awesome, by the way. So, okay, so now this one is going to be different than all the rest. What I will do, because this is just an image tag in the end, that's how it renders it. You can pass along any of the properties you would send to that. So I could have like an aria hidden equals true. And now what I can do is on here, have an aria label that says like go home, since I don't have any text in there, obviously. This will then point to there. So if I click on here, this should take me home, right? About, home, stuff like that. All right, we've got all these tabbing defaults and stuff from OpenProps. But now let's talk a little bit more about localized CSS. So far we've looked at this global CSS file right over here. Right now we don't have a whole lot going on, just the stuff from OpenProps. But what we can do is locally here, you've got this front matter. This is on build or server side stuff. All this is going to be client side. Now what we want is some kind of localized style tag here. So down this way, what I can do is just add a style tag, and it doesn't have to be there. I'm not sure why I did it there. It can be down below. Is this Astro image tag? Yes, it is. Sorry, I should have made that clear. So now what I can do is reference anything in here, and it'll actually be scoped to this component by default, which means I can just come in here and say like grab my ULs, and I want them to be like list style of none. And then notice if I were to inspect this, it actually adds a data attribute. It used to do it a different way, and you can go back to that if you want. But see how it adds this Astro data? So this is for the actual component, that nav component, and then all the CSS is going to be scoped based off of that. So you can see, let's see. Let me grab, can I grab the UL somehow in this small little micro section? Okay, so right here, you'll notice that here it says where this is true, the UL, where this is true, go ahead and add the list style none to it. So it's automatically scoped by default. So you kind of get like all the styling, all the HTML, and if you want, all the JavaScript, which I'll show you in a second if I remember here. What does aria hidden do? It basically hides it from screen readers. So if I come over here and do Command F, function F5, I think. You're not going to hear this, I don't think, but you'll see it being read out here if my computer decides not to beach ball on me for some reason. I'm not sure what's going on today. You can come in here and you can see that I'm saying link, order head, wholesale, visit a gem, but if I tab again, it won't go inside that, and it just ignores the image, and I don't need them to know that. If you wanted to, you could also say there is an image here and what it is, but I think in this case I wouldn't, because all it's really doing is pointing back home. Maybe I'm wrong there, that maybe it's better to actually say that there's a logo mark. So somebody can correct me if that's the case. All right, so with that said, let's actually do some styling in here, right? So let's set this out as display flex. We'll do gap of our, now here's some of the cool things we get with OpenProps. I can use like size 2, and it has these kind of defaults for us. At least I think that's right. Size 4, is that making, yeah, okay. Size 1, something like that. Let's also do align items center. So there we go. That mostly works and mostly looks fine. Size 2 maybe. And obviously we would want to have some kind of mobile nav as well, probably. So let's justify our content to the center. And again, all this is going to be scoped to this individual component. So just like that, super nice and easy to work with. Let's say that all of these here, So all of them that are not this image thing we want to hide. We can do this in a couple ways, but since we've already kind of split these off in the way that we've rendered them, we can, it's not dynamic, right? Because this isn't dynamic code. It's going to just output static HTML at the end of the day. But what I could do is add some kind of attribute on here, like, I don't know, like data, no mobile, or that's a stupid name, but anyhow, something like that. And then what I could do is come in here and just say, media, I always forget this syntax. You know, like some things you just can't remember. And screen only, I'm just gonna look it up. Media query syntax. Now, screen, come on, I just want screen only media. Here we go. Okay, this is all I want. So like this. Now what I can do is say that inside here, where's my data no mobile? All right. So we could say is any of these, when I get, in this case it's saying when I get that small. Please make a video on what VS Code extensions you use. Right now they're all conflicting, so I'm not sure you want that, but I do have some videos on that. This is not how you select that, goodness. All right. So now you can see if I get bigger than that, it changes to that color. That's kind of the idea. So what I can do is set these by default. I can set these to display of none. So I can say this should be display none. And then basically they should show when I get above the 450 or whatever. So display block. All right, so again, it's not dynamic, but now you see we've got this working responsively to where maybe a 680, something like that. I get any bigger than that and now they pop in, which means I probably need some kind of nav like button as well. So that'll give me a chance to show you a little bit about JavaScript here as well. We haven't made great progress on the site, but since I have several people here who are new to Astro, I'm kind of taking my time just talking through Astro. Flex shrink 0 on my logos. Yeah, that's a good idea, just so it doesn't, you know, do weird stuff. So you can come up here and just do that right here if you want to, or you can add a separate attribute if you want to as well. But let's just do display, or sorry, flex shrink of 0. That way it doesn't get smaller. So yeah, that should work. Although it's not really going to shrink since I'm getting rid of those, but still not a bad idea. The other thing I might want to do is on these smaller screen sizes. So right here, I probably don't want it to be justify center, right? Maybe I want it to be justify content end, honestly, flex end. So I can push that all the way to the side. So maybe let's do that. And then down here in this media query, we can then do justify content center and get rid of this, this. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense what we're doing. All this is scoped again locally just to this file. And then, or maybe what we could do is justify content space between up here. That's what we'll do. Space between. And then I'm going to have a little nav item on this side. And we'll say width is 100%. And max width, we could do like, I don't know, 1200 pixels, something like that. Did I do that right? What is this? Oh, so this, I'm getting some kind of defaults here, this UL. So usually I do margin 0 and padding 0 on everything just so I can kind of control all this. So I guess this would be padding 0. Okay, there we go. And then I also need to push this to the end as well. Yeah, so let's justify self this. We're getting justify content space between. So I think it's because, why is this going to the middle? Am I missing something I've done? We'll make the logo, yeah, on the left and middle, yep. Universities don't want students to use Google. Why not? You got to use Google all the time. Yeah, I mean, you can't memorize everything. Honestly, the key is understanding what you have. And if you don't remember how to do it, like that's why search engines exist. Don't waste your time on, like, do it enough to where you know it. But yeah, the goal is not to memorize everything. It makes for easy testing, but bad practice. Margin 0 on global CSS. Yeah, I know that's what I usually do, but since I'm using this, I don't want to reset everything that they have. I don't know what's going on, but anyhow, let's go ahead and get a navbar up here for mobile, and then I'll figure out the CSS later. So let's come over here, and we could, honestly, I'd probably structure this differently if I was going to do a navbar for mobile from the beginning, where this would be my only navbar, and then I would just toggle or hide those and like show them different way. But right now, let's just do something real simple here. So what I'm going to do is install another extension that I really like. This is going to be pnpm add Astro icon. This is by one of the creators of Astro called Nate Moore. Super nice API to work with. pnpm run dev, get this thing up and running. And now all I have to do is come over this way. I'm going to add an icon, and basically I want it to be embedded as an SVG directly in my file, and that way I can play with like its current color, and it minimizes it and other stuff like that. Actually, yeah, I think it does minimize it. So there's a couple ways you can do this, but if you're going to do local ones, you should do an icons directory. And then inside here, let's have like a hamburger.svg. And I'm just going to use an extension here I have in Raycast called Iconify or something, I think. Let's go hamburger and hamburger. Hamburger. And I'm going to use, let's use the remix icon set. Maybe it's called menu. Okay. Menu fill. Oh, sure. So I'm going to just drop this in here. And now what I can do is reference this hamburger right down here. So I'm going to, oh, where are we at? All right, so all I'm going to use is the icon here from Astro Icon. And since it's, again, not working, let's do like images, icons, or something like that. I'm going to import icon from Astro Icon, which is the package I just installed. Now what I can do is just pass the name of the file to here as long as it's in that icons directory. So we'll call this menu hamburger, just like that. All right, and I'll drop it directly in there. Super nice, right? I can also set any of the other attributes on here. So like, I don't know, I'd probably make it 48, 38, 40 pixels, 28 pixels, 30 pixels. I don't know, something like that. And here as well. And then I'm probably going to just have no alt on this. And again, I'll probably have aria hidden true. Let's come over here then and do aria label. Be like open mobile nav. And that way screen readers and assistive technology can read that. Now again, because this is locally scoped, I could just come in here and have a button style like this. Obviously, eventually you're going to want to start extracting these out to their own components, so you're not just constantly like redeclaring styles everywhere. But in this case, just to show you that one more time, here I could have a background color of none and background color of none. Why is that not working? I don't know. Anyhow, there we go. So now I've got this nice little button, and I can even click on it. Nothing happens right now. So we've done all the build stuff up here, right? We've imported data, imported an image. Down here, we've looped through some of our data and output it as HTML. Down below here, then we've got these style declarations, again, kind of all in the same component. And all of these are scoped by default right here, right? Now, how do we get JavaScript on the page? Well, up top here, this is only going to be on build, so it's not going to be available after build. And like bracketed syntax is just used to build out content. So aria label, hey, no worries. Yeah, it's a way of basically declaring to assistive technology what the thing does. And since we don't have any text here, we need to say what this does. Otherwise, as they're tabbing through your site or looking through your site, they're just going to see button, and that's not helpful. So you want it to be descriptive of what it is. Why not use Tailwind? We talked about it early on, but in the stream, you're more than welcome to. Astro makes it incredibly easy. But I just like to, honestly, I like to write CSS myself, so that's why. Follow viewers from Peru, awesome. I'm trying to learn Spanish, all right? I'm not very good. Your English is significantly better. I can say about 300 words right now in Spanish. Content helps you a lot. Hey, awesome. Thank you so much for your kind words. Hold them horses. What's the icon extension to find icons? It's called Iconify, and it's from an app called Raycast, which is free. But yeah, you can just search for icons and like literally any deck you want and just drop them in here. It's kind of cool. You can copy the name. So if I wanted to, for instance, use the hamburger one from Remix, honestly, what I would probably do is come in here and find the menu. And then all I have to do is come in here and copy the name. And since Astro Icon uses Iconify, now all I'd have to do, let's see if I can come up here, is instead of passing my local file name, I just pass it this little syntax, and I have an extension that actually shows what that's like, and now you see it there. So that's probably what I should have done to start with, but I wanted to show you how to use local ones as well, or you can use ones from Iconify. So really easy to work with. Okay, style tag. Let's now talk about client-side JavaScript, back where we were. So all you have to do is add a script tag, and this does several things by default. It will actually create this as a module. It will bundle it and minify it, so it does a lot of cool stuff. It includes TypeScript by default, so right away you can just type in TypeScript if you'd like to. So what we're going to do is grab access to this button right here. Now, it is essentially like globally bundled and stuff anywhere this is used, but it's smart about it. So let's say you have like multiples of these navs on some page for some reason, and you have, for that reason, multiples of these instances of these script tags that are technically being used. Astro is smart enough to combine all that, and you basically have one. And so it's not going to include those, you know, nav wouldn't be a normal one, probably like a gallery or something like that. But let's give this thing an ID. We'll call it mobile nav. And all I have to do is come down here and const mobile nav equals, and we'll just grab the mobile nav. Now what I can do is come in here and just say mobile nav.add event listener, and we'll listen for a click. And then whenever we click it, we will do something. We'll say console.log the e.target, I guess. Okay, so now what we're going to do is come inside here and click right here, and you can see I actually have an extension called Console Ninja that's showing it directly here, but I'll also pull this up over here and get my face to move. So you can see I'm showing what I've clicked on. Now this is a great reminder for you if you're setting click event listeners on buttons. You'll notice I'm clicking on the SVG every time, whereas I want to click on the actual button, right? So what we can do is hide that. Probably what I would do, honestly, is come back here. I always do this. I don't know how wise this is, but just do pointer events of none on my SVGs. I don't want to be able to click on SVGs. And now, even if I click there, it will just ignore those pointer events. So, all right, so now we're actually clicking on the button itself. Now what I want to do is like toggle some kind of navbar situation. So I'm not going to actually do this because we need to actually get to building out the site, and I wasn't going to do a mobile version of it. So let's just do something small. Let's have like a paragraph that says like yo, all right, and we'll have this have an ID that says like mobile nav. This is, let's see, let's call this mobile nav button. All right, so now what we're going to do is come in here and change this to mobile nav button, which will be like this, and this will be mobile nav button. So when we click on mobile nav button like that, then what we want to do is mobile nav dot style, and I guess what we can do is, yeah, so let's just do this. Display equals block. Is that right? Suddenly I'm done. And here what we're going to do is grab this mobile nav. I'm just showing you how you basically could toggle stuff, but display of none. So it doesn't hide when I click on this. Now it hides, and you know you'd want it to toggle back and forth. So essentially now we have client-side JavaScript, but again, Astro includes none by default. No client-side JavaScript by default. It's probably just mad because it doesn't know if this exists. So let's make sure it exists as HTML paragraph element. There we go. Okay, happy. So now what we're saying is basically toggle this, show it this way. I could also, I guess, check to see if it has that property or exists or whatever, and go from there. But just showing that you can run client-side JavaScript, you have to opt into it. And again, this modularizes this. In fact, if I were to jump over here, I don't know if it'll be easy to see or not. Somewhere in the head, it's going to have my script tag, my modules. All right, so here's an entry point here, another module entry point. Here's my nav entry point right here, right? So this little module. So it's loading what it needs for this particular page, and since the nav is on everything, it will load that. All right, so we're not going to obviously do this because, you know, that's kind of useless, but we'll just leave it like that. And that way, if somebody looks at this code and tries to figure out what in the world's going on, they can be as confused as you would expect. That also means maybe let's just get rid of this nav altogether. So just so you can't see it anymore, which means if we're going to do that, well, I'll leave it in here in case somebody wants to look at what I did and is just curious about that, because I don't know that we're going to write any more JavaScript today. All right, so there we go. So that's gone. When we get bigger, it now shows. And hopefully that gives you a sense of kind of how to write these things. All right, other thing I want to do is let's go ahead and start actually styling this the way it's supposed to be styled. Yeah, I mean, I would normally do mobile, but I wasn't planning on designing the whole site to start with, and then I wasn't planning on talking through Astro slowly, so hopefully you'll forgive that. Are you labeled tells the screeners? Yeah. Okay, I think that's all the comments. Let's come back over here. Let's come back to our CSS file, and let's do like a body, a font family, and we're going to do source sans pro sans serif. All right, there we go. And let's fonts source sans. Again, another great reason for this Astro extension. So let's look at all these. I'm not sure what we used. Let's say it's something like, let's grab the bold. Is there no 500? Okay. Then let's grab the not bold. Let's grab the semi-bold and the regular. And then what I can do is copy this HTML link, and we'll just come over to my base layout. It's just HTML at the end of the day, right? And drop this in here. All right, so honestly, I would load this locally if it were me personally, but I don't want to take the time to do that. And then we already have that set in there. So now it's loading from there, and you should have access to that as well, even if you're not me in this case. All right, and these should all be that as well. Let's do a couple other styling things, and I want to talk a little bit more about using that templating. So let's come inside here to the ULs. Let's see, let's come in here to the LIs, and we'll say font size of var font size 2, 1. I guess it was 2 already. And then we'll say text transform. Let's do uppercase. And let's do letter spacing. Is there a letter spacing in open props? I don't remember. Letter spacing. Aha. What do I want? Oh, sure. Let's try what this is. And again, I'm just using open props to speed some of this up a little bit. There we go. And that way we can just kind of, sure. Okay. Let's do 0. Let's do smaller. Something like that. Okay. Obviously, we want to style this as well, which we'll do in a second. All right. Before I do some global CSS stuff, let's talk a little bit about this Astro name up here. Because you'll notice this base layout has baked into it this title. We've talked about using slots so far. We did that early on, where we have this base layout wrapper. We have this slot right here where everything goes. So anytime I wrap anything with base layout, all the content, in this case the index, goes right there, right? The other thing we might want to do, though, is we might want to pass stuff between different components. So in this case, we haven't done that yet. We've just imported components as is. Just like you can pass in attributes and stuff like this, you can do the same thing here in Astro components themselves. So what I can do is accept different props in here. But what we'll do is just come right inside here, and since it's templating, what we're going to do is do Astro, capital Astro, dot props, dot, and we'll call this title. And if it doesn't exist, we could say like Astro or whatever title. So it should still say Astro in a second. What was this? Astro. If it doesn't exist, we could do Astro like that. Okay, there we go. Equals Astro. Now what I can do is pass in a prop called title to this component. So I can come back over here, and now I can just pass in title, and I could say gallery coffee roasters. Honestly, what I would probably do is come over here to my site data, which we set up earlier, and have export const site data or something like that. And yeah, I think I do that. And then here I would just have an object here where I had like name and have gallery coffee roasters. And then I would just import this. This way I have like kind of one source of truth here. And here I'd say import site data from data site data. Okay. And then I can come in here and pass as the title here my site data dot name, right? And pass that in. Now passing this as a title here then comes over to the base layout when we'll learn Astro be released. Early access hopefully in the next couple weeks. Bottom menu, what is it used for? How to remove it? Bottom menu. Not sure what you're talking about. If you don't mind giving me a little bit more explanation, that'd be awesome. So now what I can do is accept this prop title directly in here. And I'm not sure what I'm doing here because I don't usually do it like this, but you can do this up top when you destructure it. I don't think you can actually reassign it there, but you'll notice if I have astro.props.title, it now has gallery coffee. Now, I don't want to type astro.props.title every single time. So what you can do is destructure this, which is you would do up top here. So on build again, you're going to have const, and then whatever the title is that you're destructuring or the item is that you're destructuring from astro.props. And then here you can assign it something like astro or whatever, so that if I don't pass in something over here, let's see, where is that at? Over this way. If I don't pass this in, it should use my default. So that's probably what I would do. And then what I would do is take this default right over here and have this imported here in my base layout. So what I would do is set this as site data.name so that if they don't pass something in, it will use that. And if a page does pass something in, it will overwrite it down this way. So you can pass basically props between components like that. All right, now, as promised, let's go to the CSS and let's set some defaults. So open props, this normalize package sets some background colors based off variables. I think it's like surface 2 or something like that. Surface 1, surface 4, surface 6. So I think it's using my dark mode theme because that's what I happen to have right now. So I think what I'm going to do, how much do I want to redo of this? Let's just kill this right here, and that way it doesn't use that. And then I can come in here and just set this as white for now, I guess. So we'll use that as our background, as our default here. What else do I want to do? So typically the way I set up open props is I will actually still declare some local variables here. So I'll have some base colors. So I could have like a color text or something like that and set it to one of theirs if I wanted to. Or I can just set my own, but it gives you some nice defaults if you want. Again, we're supposed to be kind of loosely following the actual site that these people have, which was kind of the point of this stream, but we've got derailed. It happens. Gray, 5, something like that. Come over this way. And now what I can do is reference this anywhere because this is, again, globally imported into my main layout. I can access this anywhere. Bottom menu on the Astro page, like the bottom of your website. Bottom menu on the Astro. I'm sorry, perspective. I don't understand. Is this something you're seeing? Oh, down here. This is a dev overlay. It's new, and you can add basically cool things if you have islands. So which are other components, which we'll try to do if I remember right correctly. Okay, let's come over here, and there are actually extensions people can build for these. You can do certain things. You can see how you can have like, yeah, all this kind of stuff. I'm going to do a video on it at some point. I just haven't had a chance, but it's really the extensions that are going to make it cool, so I'm kind of waiting for some extra stuff to come along. But there's some cool stuff. Oopsies. Yeah, that there's no... All right, let's come in here and let's style these just real quickly. Let's grab all the links on this page. And we'll say the color is my var of color text. And there's that color text that we pulled in. Maybe we need to increase this a little bit. There we go. Do like 9. The other thing I probably will do, underline. Nope. What is that called? Text decoration. Text decoration. None. Writing too much tailwind recently. Last thing I might do is just say, let's put some extra thing on here. Or let's just use the ARIA label since we already have that. We'll just select that. And here we'll say if it says this, that we'll do some margin block of like, I don't know, 1 rem or something to give it some extra space. Nope, inline. To give it extra space from the things around it. So something like that. There we go. Okay. So a lot of these things are 404s, but now we're actually getting this to work properly. Now, back to the actual code, or the design. Let's go ahead and get this image in right here. And this is going to be a massive one. So let's pull this in. And probably what I would do is now create another component. So over here, I'd have this like hero to Astro. And we're going to have this front matter because we want to import the image. So we're going to call this like hero image. It's default export, so we can name it whatever we want. We'll go to assets, and then I think I named it like hero. Yeah, there we go. So if I were to come in here and just have the image, which again is not auto importing, image from, actually I'd probably use the picture element here as well, but for now let's just do from Astro assets, just so I don't add another thing that we're learning at this point. Let's do src equals hero image, and we'll do alt. Right now it's nothing. All right, so when this comes in, let's come back to the middle and let's actually get it in the Astro page. So it's the first thing we're going to pull into our actual page here would be the hero, like that. And now we're just dropping this directly in here. So big ol' image. Let's go ahead and see what's going on here. So if I open up the network tab, we got image selected. We refresh, we've got a big image, right? Let's see right here. Looks like it is a WebP at least, but 320. So let's come in here and let's set a width here of like, I don't know, since we only want it to be 1200, I guess we're saying full bleed, but let's not do that. And then let's also change the format, and we'll do avif as well, which probably will save a little bit of space. Yeah, so now we're down to 54. And that will be the actual rendered image at the end of the day with the Astro image. Super nice to work with. All right, let's go ahead then, and we can do a couple things here, but let's come to our CSS and just make sure we've got a reset on these images as well. So I usually do display a block, max width 100%, and yeah, that should work. Okay. Now what we need to do is come back over this way. Let's do that. Let's see. What am I missing here? Why is this thing askew? Oh, it's actually set a height for this. Yeah, but why is it then? Let me know what I'm doing. Oh, that's the wrong thing. Right in here? No? No, that's the right thing. Okay. I don't know what I'm doing, so let me know. All right, back over this way, though, we want kind of two sections. So either way, we're going to come in here with the div. Actually, I probably have this as a section. And you can give this an ARIA label if you want and call it something like hero section. I forgot how you import that nav file inside the layout file. I have a small storage in my brain. Oh, no worries. Desktop when the gallery image comes in like a balloon into the site. Yeah. Yeah, you would want like several responsive images here, so you can actually use the picture element for that. Again, I just want to kind of get something up since we've been taking so long to get stuff going here. So the reason I add an ARIA label to the section is if you come over here and do an accessibility check here, you can see now this is saying it's a hero section. Otherwise, if you have a section tag and you don't provide any kind of direction, it just says section and that's it. So I want to be able to say this is what this is about. Again, for screen readers and other assistive technology, this is the hero section. And maybe that's not super communicative. I could name it something else, but going to keep the live. Yeah, I'll keep it up afterwards. Import nav component into the layout. Yeah, so I import it into the main layout. So layout, base layout here. Remember, the layout wraps everything else. So I imported it like this right here. So these are styles, this is components. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense what we did. Yep, it's just a relative import. You can also use type aliases if you want to as well, which is what I typically do. But all right, so we've got this section over here. There's a couple different ways we could set this up. We could do it with like a grid. We could do it with like position absolute. Honestly, I'd probably do grid here if it were me. And it is me, so I think I'll do that. So the other thing we'll have here is some kind of section that'll have our text, which was whatever we did over here. So I'll just make this a div, that's fine. And then let's go and grab this. And this will be my H1, which again is probably a component I would build out. Maybe we should do that real quick too. I'll use a small tag here, and drop that in there. And then finally, let's grab this and drop this down here. And because these are going to be a little bit closer, I will put these in another one. I'll probably do like a grid extra small or something like that. So I usually have these little utility classes I set up that prevent me from having to write a bunch of custom stuff like this. So we'll do grid maybe like large here. And then what we'll do is just set these up over here. So we'll grid extra small with the display of grid, and then gap var space size 1, I think. Something like that. What does open props give me? And again, I can manually type all these things out, but why do that when I can just let open props do that for me? So yeah, so those are my options there. So I can just copy this down several times. And again, if you're using like SAS or something, which you can use directly in Astro as well, if you just install the SAS extension if you want to. But here I can say like 2, this medium size 4, I guess, something like that. We'll do large. 6, I guess let's just start jumping for no particular reason. Extra large, we'll do size 8, and maybe we'll call that good. Nope, not going to call it good yet. We got an extra large. So let's do size 10 for some random reason. I don't know if I would ever need that, but that's the idea. And now I can come back over here to the hero, and let's see how this has already broken up. So see how it's done that already. But now I can just come in here and change this to like medium, and push those closer together. Grid extra small. Extra small. Why is that not? Oh, you know what? I think it's just because it's in the child and like stretching maybe. We'll see. All right, so let's come down here and add another local style tag. And again, we can just have a section tag because it'll be scoped by default. So here we're going to have a display of grid. Probably the other thing I want to do actually is, so like if I come over here, you'll see that the footer is like all the way up here. Let's come to the base layout real fast before we do more with that base layout. And we're going to add a basic style declaration here, which does need to be inside of the HTML if I remember correctly. Yeah, so here we're going to say display of grid. No, we're not. We got to say something of use. Let's grab the body. And here we'll just say display of grid and grid template rows. And here what I want is auto for the nav, 1 FR for everything else in auto. And then we'll do min height of 100 VH. And that way we've got the footer at the bottom here, everything else up top. We'll call that good. I think I'm getting some default styling here. Yeah, in this nav. Also some default padding or something around the whole, what is this, the body? So that's it. I'm just gonna nuke all that. Let's come back over here and do what I would normally do, which is just grab this and say, forget all this. Let's take the after, the before, and we'll do margin 0, padding 0. I don't even think I did box sizing border box. That's why I was having problems earlier, because I was relying on this minimized or this normalized package, and now it's not there. Okay, that makes sense. So I've come back over here. Nope, it still got issues. Okay, never mind. So much for fixing my issues. Okay, so there we go, but at least it's at the bottom there.
I found some web results. I can show them if you ask again from your iPhone.
Somehow I triggered Siri in my office. Gotta bounce. Hey, awesome. Thanks for joining. What about hooks and React? Yeah, I'll show you React in a second if I remember. Sorry. In fact, well, we can't do it because of the image here, but yeah, I'll show you React in a second. Remind me in like 5 minutes. So back where we were at over this way. The way I want to set this up is we probably want like, oops, don't need this. Need this. I probably have like a max height here. So let's do something like that. So let's do a max height, and we could do something like, I don't know if I want a pixel value or probably a pixel value. Something like that. Yeah, I think so. Okay. What is going on over here? What am I missing in this CSS? Does anybody see what I'm doing here? Am I just like really zoomed in maybe? Oops. Oh, okay. I think I'm really zoomed in. Okay, so let's set this to like 600. What's going on with this image? Display of block. Let's turn this back on. I don't know what I was doing with this image then. Max with 100% display block. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on here. All these image tags. Display block, max with 100%. What am I doing wrong here? Should we just use with 100%? Yeah, maybe. No. Because I don't always want it to be width. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Huh. Okay, whatever. Let's just come in here and redefine all the color here to be my var color text, because that's really the reason I shifted that over. And now we'll have some other defaults we don't want, but I don't want to figure that out at this point. Okay. We probably don't need this either, because I'm guessing they do that too. Not sure. Okay. So we'll leave it like that. So probably what I want is on mobile, I want it to be like in the center down here, which means I want like probably just like a third, like a grid third either way. So I think maybe let's do that. So let's come back over here. I guess I don't want to spend too much time on this since this isn't really the point of this thing. So we'll do grid template columns, repeat 3, 1FR, and grid template rows, repeat 3, 1FR. You could also name these things, I guess, as well if you want to. It's kind of up to you. We can give this a class of like hero image. And now I'll come down here. And pretty much, I guess what we'll do is just not worry about a mobile, since we've already kind of not done it, but grid area, right? -1 to -1. No, 1 to -1, I mean. And then 1 to -1. Is that right? It should stretch the whole thing. Let's see. Row, column, right? Oh, now I'm confused. All right, let's come over here. Oh, I start with 0. And go 0. Is that right? Can't you do this? 0, 0, -1, -1. I just want the thing to stretch the whole parent, but I'm clearly missing this. All right, we got to get off this so I can show you some other stuff here. Where's my styles? I just want to show layout, show area names, show grid lines. Okay, let's do that, and then let's select this. Okay. So I want this to go from right here, 0, 0, 1, 1. Let's start there. Grid area. Line numbers or something. Where's that? It's been a while since I've just written hard coded grid area names, I guess. Not a thing I thought I'd forget, but clearly I am. Come on, something work. A grid line. Let's see. Determine the grid item size location with the grid computing line span. Nothing automatic grid placement. Grid row start, column start, row end, column end. Okay. Right. Okay. Well, that's what I'm doing, all right. Is it the spaces? All right, let's come back over here. Sorry about this. So now it's setting it over there. Maybe I just need to like kill this thing. Grids are hard to learn. They're actually really nice to work with. For some reason, not today, so that's all right. 1, 1. This is grid start is up here. That's 1. Column start's up here. I want this to also be 1. Then I want it to go to the end, which you should be able to do -1 for, and -1. Isn't that what I did before? I'm pretty sure that's what I did before. All right, whatever. Copy property, copy declaration. Nope. Here we go. All right. I don't know. That's what I thought I did before. Guess not. All right, let's come back over here and uncomment this out. And now what we can do is set this in a position. So by default, if we turn back on those grid lines, I guess, and select this right here. Come on. This right here, I want it to start. Can you just keep the lines on for me? Grid area names, grid area lines. Is it just that I can't see? There we go. Okay. So I want this to start right here, right? So 2, 1, or I guess we could do -1, something like that. So we could just take this right here, right? Because it's all scoped, it doesn't really matter. And grid area. We're going to start this at 1. I should probably just have named the line so I didn't run into whatever issue I'm having here. 2, and we're going to go over to 3, right, for the rows. And then at the end here, maybe it's just spaces. Maybe that was my issue. All right, and then we're going to go to column, see, we're at row 2, right? So we'll go to column 2 as well and go down to column 3 or something like that. There we go. All right, it's generally right there. I think maybe I just dropped this an extra column, 4 and 4. Oops, not a column, an extra row, 3 and 4. There we go. And then let's just add a background here. And sure, we'll just do FF for now. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. Now we should be able to see padding of our space fluid 2, which is another one of these we get from Open Props. I think it's size fluid 2. Yeah. And then border radius, var rounded, small. I think it's like radius, actually. Small or 2. There we go. 1. We'll do extra small, something like that. Then what we can do is when we get to, so that should be on the small screen sizes like that. In fact, maybe what we could do is, let's see, let's just start at the columns like that. And have it stretch the whole length of the thing for now. And maybe we even pop this up a touch. There we go. And then I'll add like a margin inline of var size fluid 2. Push it off a little bit. And then what we can do is grab all this and have another declaration down this way. Let's grab our nav, steal this so I don't have to look it up again. And come in here. And now what we're going to do is grab this once again, drop this in here. See right here. And we'll change this up slightly, right? So this will be 3. That wasn't right. It's this that we want down here, right? Yeah, okay. Column 2 to column 3. Margin inline, we'll do 0. Padding fluid, that's fine. So I don't need to redeclare that, don't need to redeclare that. We will change where it's positioned. So now when I come over this way, we're going to move it over all the way. So let's do the column, will be column 3 to column 4. Something like that, or we can do -1 all the way off to the side. And maybe we do want to add a little extra padding. So I'll do padding inline start of our size fluid 4. That's probably way too big. Something like that. Okay. I think that'll work. Only other thing is I might take my H1s. I do line height of 1.1 just for kicks. Something like that. And that should work. I already think that looks a little bit better. Maybe we should make this a background image. Okay, that'll give me a chance to show you something else about the get image thing too. Then we have to do the whole. That's probably what I should have done to start with, but then we have to redo the whole thing, don't we? Let's just leave it alone. We're going to call that good, okay? So it'll be a little offset, and that's fine. I guess let's also make sure with this base layout we have everything stay in the center, which I guess we could do here as well. So we said max width somewhere. Don't we say max width somewhere else? I don't know. I thought we had a max width on the body. So let's set a max width here of like 1200 pixels. And then we'll say margin inline of auto. And that way when we do get bigger, it'll at least stay capped into the center. Right now that looks kind of bad, but that's fine. All right, at least it gives us something that looks more like the Figma file. All right, let's see. Grids are hard to learn. Done you one alternatively. Why don't we use the image as a background? Thanks for reading my mind. Too late. perspective. I could use that like 20 minutes ago when I made this bad design decision. All right, so let's see. What have we talked about with Astro, or haven't we talked about with Astro that I want to talk about? Let's see. The React component that I promised. All right, let's go ahead and do React real fast, and then that way perspective can get off my back about it. PMPX, I'm just teasing. Astro, add React. This is it. Like, that's all you got to do. It's like the CLI is so good in Astro. Like, I would just use it just to watch the CLI work, and then just drink coffee and not have to worry about manually installing everything like a cave person. All right, so it has to, what it's going to do is install React. It's going to update your config. It's going to update your TS config. All right, so it's going to install that. Now I'm going to say, yes, please do those things. Then it's going to say, hey, can I update your Astro config? Sure. Can I update your TS config? Sure. And guess what? We can now use React anywhere we want. All right, so pnpm run dev. And now what we can do is use React in a bunch of different ways. So for instance, one thing I could do is come in here and let's just maybe do our next component in React. So this right here. Sure, why not? All right, so let's call this, probably what I would do is have like a sections thing here. So maybe inside this, I'd have like sections. And here's the cool thing. If I drag this in here, it will actually move it here, and then Astro will rename all those imports so they still work, I think. I just have to come over here and save it, maybe. Astro, oh, I have to now, so it will work, but I have to now come inside the hero and add an extra up like that, which is all the more reason for using something called type aliases. So maybe let's do that. We'll go to our TS config. And here, because I don't remember how this works off the top of my head, let's go to the Astro build docs. Actually, Alien, I think, created this Astro extension for Raycast, where now I can just search for alias. Right? And then it will open this up, although it's going to open up my other web browser, which I don't want to happen. So never mind. But it's nice to use. Let's see, docs. Only thing better than the CLI are the docs, and that's a ridiculous thing to say, because you shouldn't compare these things. Type aliases, import aliases. Here's what I want. All right, so you can just add this right here, because I always forget how to do this. And now you can relatively reference these things like this. So you can just do @components, @layouts, @whatever. The other thing you can do is just use the @syntax inside of the SRC. So I think it's like this. It's the same as, let's see. Yeah, like this is the same as SRC, whatever that thing happens to be. I think this is what I typically do. All right, so now this hero, if I come back over here, now it's basically referencing the assets directory inside of SRC. Wherever I move this thing, I don't have to go up a bunch of levels and all this kind of stuff. Let's see, did I kill my dev server? Cannot find. So maybe I didn't do this tsconfig thing right. Let's just double check. So it's @layouts. Okay, so this should be the same as, what am I messing up here? @/layouts. It's the same as SRC / whatever that is. I think that's right. Maybe let's just restart the dev server. pnpm run dev. When in doubt, restart the dev server. When also in more doubt, just don't try to do this on the fly. Okay, there we go. So now, basically, I can move this file up, down, wherever I want, and just use the @syntax. So, okay, back to the component we were going to add. Let's see, we had these sections. I'll have another section here, which we're going to call featured products. So let's just call this featured file featured.astro. And here we'll have a section. I probably honestly, again, we'll call ARIA label. I'd probably have like some kind of component that I use in an actual production site, but in this case, let's call this featured products. All right. So here we're going to have a couple things. We'll have our header, which in this case will be an H2. Maybe I'll come back to this if I feel like I have time. What kind of time is it? You know, I have kids who are going to get up There's no way it's that late. Okay, that's an hour later. All right. I was like, I mean, I know I've taken my time today, but that's quite a bit later than I thought. All right, so let's come inside here, and we'll call this featured products. Alien has made Raycast extension. Yep. I showed that just a second ago, but you may have not been here at that point, and I showed it really fast. So, yeah, it's awesome. Okay, buy our coffee. I forgot we had that great bit of copy there. So we'll have buy our coffee, and then maybe here is where we'll use... Sure, let's do that. Yeah, why not? All right, just to show how this works, let's go ahead and have components in here. Gallery. Let's do like grid. I think that's going to be stupid. Let's not do that. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to change this feature.astro to TSX. All right. Then I'm just going to scaffold out this, and we'll drop this back in here like this. No. What am I? Sure. Okay, that'll work. So now we got this feature.astro. Here's what we're going to do. We won't make this a section. I'll just keep this real simple. Yeah, let's do this. Because I want to actually use the Astro image, and you can use the get image function to do this, but it's kind of, I think it's a little clunky for what we've got. Let's do a div and just remove this. Since we're using JSX here, we have to actually have a single thing we're returning at this point. So let's come over here to the index. And here we're going to have this section right here, and we're going to import our featured section. All right, just like that. And I'll drop it in here. So you'll notice a couple things here. Number one, it imports it. It doesn't have to have .tsx, but it's showing right here, right? So all this is showing, and it's just being rendered as static HTML at the end of the day. So no reactivity whatsoever. So if you just have a bunch of React components or Svelte components or Vue components or whatever, you can just drag them in and they work. Now, it's not reactive, so which is kind of the point where most people reach for that. So let's go ahead and open this up and add something reactive if we want. So we'll have a button. We'll have a bit of state. Let's do that. Yeah. So let's come up here. We'll say like num and set num. We'll pull this from use state, and then we'll start it at 0. All right, so inside here, let's have a paragraph with num, and then we'll have a button, and we'll just say like ink. All right, and I guess we can have a deck too. And on both these, let's have an on click, and we'll take the, when it's clicked, then we're just gonna set num, set num to num plus plus or minus minus. Oh, it's a constant. Wait, what? What am I doing here? Did I forget to write basic use state? I don't know. Anyhow, what we can do is grab the previous either way and just return previous minus. Come on. And then here we'll just do the same thing and do previous plus 1. Unless I'm forgetting. Oh, yeah, but I should be able to do a constant there. Okay, either way, now we've got these things. We've got increment and decrement. We should probably set these off in some kind of way. So let's put these in div. And we'll have a style here where we just declare display a flex and a gap of like 2 rem. All right, just so we can see them next to each other. Now, if you come in here and click, nothing is going to happen. And that's because, again, by default, yeah, I don't know. Not sure what I was doing wrong, but you can see here that by default, these things right here, you can't interact with them, even though you have click event listeners and all that kind of stuff. So what you have to do is hydrate this with JavaScript. So let me show you what this looks like to start with. So if I come over here and we look at everything, and we reload. Actually, let's pull this up some. Okay, like this. I'm going to get a bunch of stuff in here. 44 requests, right? But there's no React on the page at all. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's come back over to nav. Let's see, index, base layout. Where was I using that? I guess it was in the index, wasn't it? Okay, so right here, what I can do is give this thing a client directive. So for instance, if I say client load, then notice I've gone from 44 to as soon as I refresh, it'll actually load 48 because it's now loading React immediately with it, or 52 by the time it ends up getting everything in there. So it's loading a bunch of stuff that's needed to hydrate that component. And it's saying as soon as you load the page, grab all the JavaScript that's needed, in this case, all of React and whatever else I've written in that component, and load it onto the page as well. Now, honestly, that's kind of expensive, and one of the reasons you reach for Astro is so you don't have to load all of React constantly. So what I really like to use is use the client visible, and this uses an intersection observer behind the scenes. And notice that up top here, I have 46 requests, and as soon as I scroll and it gets almost into the viewport, notice what's going to happen. It now loads all the React that's needed, which means I should be able to come over here and increment and decrement it, right? So just like that, and it's actually reactive at that point, but it only loads it when you need it. So it's like React or Next or a lot of these other things are like, give me all the JavaScript and I may not need it all. Astro's like, give me nothing unless I want it. So just at the right time, give me JavaScript. So that's the power of using something like Astro. Really, really like it. There's a client hover as well. I don't think there's a client hover. Client. Yeah, there's client only, which is basically if you don't want Astro to render the HTML, if you want Astro, normally what it does is it renders the HTML, then with whatever framework, just static HTML, and then it hydrates it with JavaScript if you need it. However, you can do client only where you say, hey, Astro, don't touch this thing. Just let React do all the HTML, let React do all the reactivity, or whatever you happen to be using. Client media can be helpful for like different media directives. Client idle is basically when it's done loading the page, then go ahead and load React. Client visible, I think, has to do more with what I just showed you. Client media, I think, is like media queries. Like if it's at this size, then load React. If it's not, then don't, if I remember right. So anyhow, that's how you would do it. However, I'm going to get rid of all this and get rid of React as well because I'm just going to do it in Astro. So hopefully that was helpful. Astro doesn't have client hover by default. You can build your own handlers, yeah. There are many thing hover click. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and get rid of this and let's finish out this site. So let's move a little faster here. And what I want to do is just drop this back in here. Let's see. Like this. Grab all this. Drop it in here. Get rid of all this. Get rid of all this. And all this. And then let's change this to Astro. Anyhow, I hope that was helpful. That's how you use UI frameworks. Hey, comrade, welcome. Okay, let's see. Let me just double check. Make sure I haven't got anything else. All right. Okay, I think let's just move ahead quickly, try to finish this thing out, and call it a day. I guess I did promise to maybe turn this into some kind of component. Let's do that real fast. So I'm going to have a heading component, .astro, and RAFCE. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to actually have a dynamic tag in Astro because I don't have to like every time remember like how I want to style each of these headings and like which headings I have available to me and that kind of stuff. So what I'm going to do instead, thanks for the react. Hey, you're welcome. Hey, awesome. Build something. Yeah. Tweet at me or send me a DM or something. I'm not sure how people say things, but just I'd like to see whatever it is if I have time. What we're going to do is get a bunch of stuff. So I'm going to move a little bit quicker here. What we're going to get is a tag type, whatever we pass in here to astro.props. And so what you can do is actually pass in types and then redefine them here. So I can say const tag equals tag type. What this does is it basically assigns this to a constant, and now I can use this capital T tag, and it does have to be capital here, to identify any kind of HTML header tag that I want. And then what we can do is put a slot inside here, where then I can drop the content here as well. So let's go ahead, and I'll show you a couple of things you can do here as well. For this featured products, now what I want to do is put this inside of my heading like this. And I need to have some kind of thing I pass in here. So in this case, what I want is my tag type, right? Tag, is that what I called it? Tag, here, let's do tag type, goodness. Tag type over here, tag type equals, and I can pass in something like H1. Now, if I come over here and we actually get this in the page so we can see what's happening, index. All right, so now what we're gonna do is pull on that featured, like that. All right, so right here, you're gonna notice that I'm actually dynamically setting that tag type. See how it's an H1? If I come back over here though, to this featured, actually let's open that back up because we'll need that. And I change this to a tag type of 2, you'll notice that this is now at tag type of 2, right? So you're actually dynamically setting these things. Now, obviously, I want to have everything else available to me that I would have in a normal tag. So what I can do is spread in if it will let me, rest operator like this. So now I'm saying anything else that I can, go ahead and spread in here. To get one better, if you want to add TypeScript to this, and so like I can add it, for instance, let me show you how to do that first. So I can add an ID, for instance, that says like yo or something. Now, if I come over here and select this, this has an ID of yo because it spread that in and it's added that there. The other things I can do though here is I could have like different sizes or whatever else I want. But I also want to add TypeScript to this. So I can import a type of HTML attribute. Oh, come on. I'm getting no help from Astro attribute. Not sure why this is messing up so much for me to HTML attribute. Come on. TypeScript. Polymorphic type. Nope. There we go. This is what I want from Astro types. All right, now what I can do is I can set props here. So let's do type props, or I guess we can do interface props, extends, and I can pass HTML attributes and pass it, you know, this generic that says what type it is. So I can just say it needs to be any of these, right? H1, H2, H3, H4. The other thing I can do is come up here and have, we'll do like tag options or something like that. And we could set these. Here's how I typically do this, where I'll set it up as an object. And I'm getting into the weeds with all this, so I apologize ahead of time. But I actually set these up for some kind of like size options as well, which I'll use as CSS. And then I basically can set these this way. So I don't know, this is going to be confusing. I won't go into all this because I think if you're not familiar with TypeScript, I'm just going to spend 5 minutes setting all this up. And but basically, if you are familiar with TypeScript, you can basically say, hey, this is the type of this tag, and it extends this, and then you can add your own props on top of it. So I could say tag type needs to be one of these tag types, H1, H2, H3, H4, whatever. And then I can also, let's see, what am I doing wrong here? Anyhow, I'm not going to set this whole thing up, but that's how you'd set these type aliases up. And then that way you actually know exactly what you have on the front end. You're only going to be sending those 6 possible headings along. JetBrains ID because VS Code. Yeah, I don't know. It's been really buggy for me. Streams of videos, I learned tremendously. Hey, awesome. You're welcome, comrade. They want familiar with WordPress. Not sure what would be the best regard. Yeah. Honestly, there's a lot of... You could do CloudKing if you have lots of clients. I think CloudKing is a great option for that because you can basically just write your normal Astro stuff. You have to change a little bit how you template it. You could set up something like KeyStatic or another one of these CMSs for each one of those clients as well. I don't know. It's hard because a lot of people do want to do that. And so... I don't know. I haven't done a ton with clients who want to update their own content because I basically just tell them if you want to do that, just go find a WordPress dev. Like, because I do very small sites because I don't have a ton of time since I'm still learning so actively. But anyhow, hopefully that's semi-helpful. I'm sure other people have other opinions here as well. All right. Anyhow, all that to say, that's you could set up types and then basically you know exactly which attributes you can add rather than just anything you want in a spread operator. You could also set it up with different sizings as well to where you have like a style tag that's dynamic. I do a lot of this kind of stuff in my Astro course that's coming out soon. So if you're interested in that, you're welcome to check it out at learnastro.dev. Okay, back over this way. We don't need an ID of yo, but now I can change this out, and this is going to be an H2, so that should work. Let's actually finish this thing out. And now I think that will be my last distraction, says the guy who definitely doesn't understand that he will have many more distractions yet to come. Let's come inside here, and I'm going to have a grid of extra large. All right, I knew we set that up for a reason. And then we'll have a style here. We'll have grid extra large, max width of like 1,000 pixels maybe, margin inline of auto, and we'll do align items of start. And it should already be a grid container. So, oh, this is stretching all the way there. Yeah, you really should have made that a background image, shouldn't I have? I just broke the whole thing though. Let me make sure I have this image set up right. Okay, I think what I need to do is object fit a cover, width 100%, height 100%. Okay, there we go. That's what I need to do. So now I actually see where that's at properly, which also means I need to change the declaration here as well. So this should be 3 and 4. Yeah, like that. Okay. Whatever. That works. Let's come back over here. Let's do margin up and down. We'll do size fluid 4 maybe. And give ourselves some space there. Let's also then set. We already have a gap on that, so that should be fine. Okay, there we go. Let's do place items start. Why is this centered aligned? That must just be the default I get with this this reset I have. Hey, you're welcome. Awesome. No worries. Thanks for joining. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish this thing out. So we've got these 4 products. Let's go ahead and import them. And again, I'm going to do that all here. So I'm just going to import them one after the other. So we'll say like image 1 from, oh, now we can just do assets, right? Gallery, what do we call these things? So it's these coffees. So let's do that. And let's also call this like Colombia, since they actually have names. Coffee, Ethiopia. That's not how you spell Ethiopia either. Golden Jack. Add this in here as well. We'll just call it Golden. And then finally, whatever else this is, coffee. Don't I have another one? What else do I have in here? Coffee, gallery. I should have 4. Well, I don't see them, so we'll just do 3. All right, so now what we'll do is for each of these, let's also just have some data about them. So we're going to get that from the actual site, I guess. So let's just call it coffees equals. And for each of these, we're going to have several things, right? So Golden Jack, I think I have that. I just watched a recent video tutorial on how to deploy a project like that would be possible. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, I don't know that I'll do something like that soon, but I'll keep it in mind. It might be worth, there's a Discord community, I think, for Resend, and I'm sure there's people who've done stuff in that. I just played with Resend very recently, and thought it'd be interesting to share. So let's do a name or something like that. We'll call this like Columbia. I guess we should probably copy these over, huh? Oops. I forgot it's a live website. Okay, that could have gone better. Let's come in here. And then what we're going to do is do price here. We'll do 20. I'll do this as a pure number so we can just style it in whatever currency or like, yeah, using JavaScript. Hey, you're welcome. Let's do the image src, which will be, in this case, my Columbia. And we'll do image alt. I guess the image alt will just be that, so let's not do that. We'll just use the name for the image alt. So let's copy these down a couple times and copy the rest of these. So Ethiopia Tour 3, I guess. Ethiopia. And then finally, let's take, I guess it's my Peru one that got kicked off the island. Not sure what it ever did to me. Let's see, 20, and we'll call this golden. Okay, so now I've got these coffees. We can loop through these coffees below here. And probably what we'll do is this. I don't know if I should make these like UL. Let's just do a div here, and then inside here we'll have articles. So let's do coffees.map. For each coffee, we're just going to output an article tag. And this article tag will have four things. We'll have a button as well, since I said I would do a button. So we'll have the image, which will come from our image tag. That still is not importing for whatever reason. So we'll say import image from Astro Assets. And it's going to yell at us because I need to pass it the src. So the src is going to be the c.image. Alt will be this c.name. And let's do format here of avif as well. Come back over here, and now all those should be showing up. Okay, cool. Let's also set a width here of like 300 pixels. We don't need these to be very big. And we'll set aspect ratios and stuff like that here using a class. So we'll say like product. All right, then down below the image itself, these are going to be headings as well, right? And now we've got that handy little thing we created, even though it's not showing me. Oh, I guess it's already imported, isn't it? Tag type, and we'll set this as an H3, and this will be our c.name. And what else do we have? The other thing is, didn't have like a description or something? Oh no, price. So here we'll just say from, and now I want to do some templating here, because what I want to do is grab that price and use JavaScript to display it as currency. So we'll say c.price, and since it knows it's text, now I get access to all these things, right? To locale string, and here I'm going to just do, I guess it probably needs to be ENUS, and then I can just say style of currency. Is that right? Currency. And then I think its currency is USD. So just normal stuff with JavaScript, and I get access to all that, and I don't need to add this right here. That's the whole point. All right, so now it's a true number, an actual number, but I get to display it here again using JavaScript inline here to template it out, and that's what this bracketed syntax does. Okay, so that's mostly good. Got a button as well. Again, probably something I'd build a component for, so let's do that real briefly. We'll say button.astro, and this will be a button, although in this case it'll be a link, so we should probably do link.astro, and this will point to nowhere, and we'll have this as a slot, and I'm going to go ahead and spread in a REST operator here. Do I need to pass anything else? I probably should pass in the href, right? So here we're going to pass in an href as well, href, const href, and rest from equals astro, since we're destructuring .props. All right, so there's my link featured over here. Let's see, let's pull on the button. Let's reload the window. So that's how this Friday's gone. Nothing still. Okay. Oh, I think it's because I called it a link. That's what I get for making fun of VS Code. Oops. Let's close this off with a link tag like this. So I need to pass in an href. And for all of these, I'll just do that. And then the text itself will be my c.image. or no, I'll just do the same thing for all of them, right? Add to cart or something like that. There we go. Yeah. Not the best looking button I've ever done. Let's come over here to the link, and maybe, I guess we could style this a bit. We could say background, color, as far color text. Color, you can just say is white. Padding var space size 3, var size 5, maybe. Sure, something like that. Okay. I think that should all work. Let's also set this as display block, I guess, for now. And we'll do a max width fit content. Okay, I think that should work. Let's now style out this featured section. So what I want is this, all these right here. Let's do like a class like product wrapper, product wrapper. Let's come in here, style product wrapper. Oh, like that. Here we'll just do display flex, gap of our size fluid 3 maybe from open props. Flex wrap of wrap. I think that should work. What else do I want to do for the articles themselves? Let's what do I want to do for these things? I guess I want the images, which I've named product. So let's do that. Aspect ratio 1/1. And we'll do object fit of cover and call that good. Let's see, I guess we also want a gap here. Oh, I already have a gap. Just didn't seem enough. But I guess we could also do on the article. We already have those grid things set up for us. So let's just do that. Class, do grid, medium, small. Sure. And then let's maybe group these together. Do a div. Medium. Sure. I don't know, I kind of feel like this image needs to be there too. So those are kind of stuck together. Okay. Since I have this width set to 300, maybe we should also set the product. Nope, the article, since that's the flex child, to flex basis of 300 pixels. And that way the text doesn't extend beyond that. The nice thing about having like a heading component like this is now I can come in here and just say, can I set the tag like this? Let's see, display of none. No, I can't do that. I was going to say the nice thing is you can style this, but usually what I'd have is some kind of like, I guess we could just add a class of like default or something, and we could use the class that way. So I could say default. And then what I'm going to do is set the line height to like 1.1, which is what I would typically do for headings. Something like that. Oh. Sure, something like that. All right, other things, let's see, probably flex our align items, flex start, so they don't stretch like that. I guess I should also do a little space here. So let's do grid, class, grid, extra small, small. All right, there we go. We got that section generally done. Probably featured products. I want a little spacing here too. Again, I got those utility classes, so I can just come in here and say like grid medium. Space those out. Probably throw a div in here. Call that a day. Probably also want some padding on all of this, but since they'll all be inside of this section right here, let me go ahead and just add some padding inline of var space size fluid 2. And that way they'll all be the same. Everything in that section will be the same. So I think that'll work. Okay. There we go. Got those set. Maybe I should also extend. Let's not do a max width here. Oops. Come on. That way, hopefully they can all fit. Yeah, there we go. Okay. All right, so that's that section. Somehow I have an extra semicolon showing up, probably from when I copied it over from React. Let's just finish this thing out. Let's see, I guess we're done with this. So let's go back to the actual live site. Keep up with us. So let's grab this. So we'll call this like gallery or something. Hopefully this makes sense how to do it now, and we can just kind of tick these off here. Let's grab this featured actually and just call it gallery. And we'll call this like gallery. And this we're going to say keep up with us. And this can be a link to their Instagram page, which I don't have right now. I mean, I can copy it, but gallery coffees. I think that's, yeah, I feel pretty good about that. Here, what we can do, a product wrapper wraps all those articles. I should be able to just get rid of that article, get rid of that, just use the image like this and just map over each of those. And what we'll do is call this like a alt. And then I think that's all good. That should be good. Sure. All right, now what I'll do is come up top here, and I don't want to manually type all these out since it's just a sample anyhow. So maybe we just say like coffee stuff. But now you know how to do that. All right, C.image. What we're going to do is just do all this like this. And let's get rid of this here. We'll call this images. Call this images. Call this I. And call this I. All right, I think that should work. Now I just have to import all the different items we have here. So let's go ahead and I see gallery 1 JPEG. So gallery 1 JPEG. And the cool thing is I should be able to just come in here and how many images do I have? Up to 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll go grab all these like that. I have an extension called text pastry that just does 1 to whatever. And then same thing here. I'll grab all these. Gallery. Yeah, we'll just do 1 to whatever. Okay. So now I should be able to come in here and say gallery 1. And again, we'll copy these down. Although I guess, yeah, that's fine. I'll just do the same thing. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Text pastry 1, 2, whatever. And I need one more, which will be my 9th. Okay, I think that works. Now let's come back over here. We have to actually insert those below. See, you got my gallery, got my index, featured. Let's see. Okay, they're all showing up. I'd probably set this as a grid, honestly, but so there you go. They all pop in there. Looks fairly uniform with up top. I probably want these more center aligned. I don't know. So the top section we kind of redid. That still needs some help, doesn't it? Let's come over to the nav. Where's my nav? Didn't I have some extra spacing here? Why does it not like that? Padding. I don't know. Why is it being like that now? Flex shrink 0. Entry. I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know. That's not a big deal. Okay. I think that's pretty much it. I guess we also have like a footer section. You can do that too. If you're ever in Woodland, go to Gallery Coffee Roasters. I really enjoyed it. Let's open the layout and let's just drop this footer thing here. And I think we'll just manually do this here. Now let's not do it manually. What are we going to do? While we're here, let's be extra. Come back inside here. We'll do footer.astro footer. And then we'll input the footer here. Footer. reload the window because I don't know why. Although at this point, I might as well just copy this over and change this to footer. Pull this in. And we'll have two things in here. We'll have the street address on one side. And then we've got those icons. We could do this in a couple different ways, but I guess we've got our site data. So I might as well just keep adding to this. So we could say like export socials equals. And this could be an array of items here. We have name or like label, alt, I don't know, probably label, be like Instagram, icon. Now what I can do here is search my icons, and where's the one I use a lot for this kind of stuff? Let's just thumb through this till I can remember. Feather icon, maybe? Instagram? Okay. So we'll copy the name, drop that in here. I guess I would need href as well. And I might actually copy their actual href, I guess. Copy link as copy link address. Okay. Let's just go down two more. I've also got email. Let's do icons. Mail. There we go. Copy name. And we will do the same here. Copy email address. Don't spam these people. Just send them nice messages about stuff. Maybe Facebook. And I'm guessing this is Facebook. Okay. And then we'll copy their link address and drop this in here as well. Seems kind of weird that they gave HTTP for this. So let's change this to HTTPS. If you happen to be watching this Gallery Coffee Roasters, you can change that to HTTPS. All right, now what we can do is loop through these social things in the footer, right? So let's come back over here. We'll create some front matter, which will again be used on build. And we'll do socials from all that. That works. Then I can just simply take the socials. Actually, let's loop through these in some kind of a div. And we'll take, let's do UL. And we'll take my socials dot map. Each social, we'll simply put output. Come on. An anchor link that will point to href of s dot href, right? And then inside here, actually we'll have to do an array label since it's just going to be an image. We'll do the same thing. We'll do s dot, there we go, label. I'm not sure why that was happening weird. Then I'm going to use Astro icon here and pass it the name of my s dot name icon, something. We'll do a width of like 24, something like that. And let's make sure we import icon from Astro icon. Okay, so loosely that should be correct down this way. There you go. Obviously we got a little bit of work left to do on styling. So let's take our footer, display flex, justify content space between, align items of center. Let's do a max width of like 1200 pixels again. I guess that's already going to be like that, right? So we'll do a padding inline of, what was on my index again? Yeah, let's steal this. All right, there we go. We got our div, which again will be locally scoped here, that I can do display flex, gap var size 2, something like that. Oh, it's not a div, it's UL. There we go. Let's also maybe add a little bit of padding up and down too. So we'll do var size 1, 2, something like that, up and down. Sure. Let's take the LIs. We can do native nesting even if we want to. Let's just do it here just to, so I get that syntax. And we'll do the text or the color. We have var size, var color text, I think. That should inherit that. down into here. Oh, these aren't LIs. So these need to be inside of LIs, like this. There we go. Okay. I can also do list style none. All right, and then what we'll do is take the, not these, but the anchor links, like that. Okay, there we go. If we want, I guess we can even have little pop-up titles. So we could do title is also equal to s.label, which is an easy way that if you hover, you can actually get a pop-up. If I can get my face to get out of there. If you hover long enough, it should pop up with the title, maybe. Oh, I have pointer events sent to none on all these SVGs, so never mind. Well, it should still work for the links. I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm doing. All right. I think that's mostly it. I mean, we obviously took our time and explored a lot of stuff with Astro, but I hope that was helpful for some of you who aren't familiar with Astro. That wasn't my intention today. I was going to go, just kind of redesign it and do it, but we got a basic version of their site up and running and got to talk through a lot of Astro stuff. I changed around some stuff, as you can see, but it's got obviously some work left to do to really make it fully finished and polished, but hopefully that was enjoyable for you. And on the icon, not a tag. Not sure I understand. Yeah, the icon will put out an SVG tag in the end, basically. All right, thanks for joining. I hope that was enjoyable for you. It was a little bit more of an intro stream to Astro than I was expecting, but I think it seems like maybe that was what was needed today, and hopefully you enjoyed it. So thanks so much for watching. I will catch you in the next one. Happy coding.